Cincinnati, the Queen City, an innovative and exciting city, is becoming more so every day thanks to the efforts of community development corporations and neighborhoods around the city. Over the Rhine is actively focused on maintaining diversity in housing. Walnut Hills is building density and excitement around People's Corner. Madisonville is ensuring that its residents have a walkable and sustainable neighborhood. College Hill is rebuilding its business district. The Lower West Side and its river neighborhoods are planning for new developments. Small neighborhoods like Camp Washington, large neighborhoods like Cross Hill, are all working hard to transform their communities through housing and economic development efforts. This transformation is happening in your neighborhoods every day. Our role as the CDC Association for all these entrepreneurial nonprofits is to provide them with resources, advocate for their needs, build their capacity. Just look around your neighborhood next time you're passing by. You'll probably see the impact that your local CDC and neighbors are working hard to create. Together, we are all building a stronger Cincinnati.
And now we have our speaker, our keynote speaker. You will see a whole section of awards about visitability and all of those good things. And Heather is going to give us a keynote speech to let us know what visibility means, what universal design means, what aging in place means, why it's important, how everybody's going to get there eventually, and why we should do that. So come on over to the middle. Heather she is an activist for this cause. She's also a neighborhood activist. She's a form-based code activist. Heather shows up to do all kinds of work to make this town a better place. She is great. And she's a consultant. If you guys need anybody to help you think through neighborhood issues, take care of neighborhood. Well, I just think, she didn't know I was going to do this. But, you know, there's a talented woman with a great brain. Let's use her.
Okay. Thank you, Tricia, for such a lovely introduction and for inviting me to speak at this 26th anniversary or 26th awards luncheon for the CDC Association, which reminds me about the 25th anniversary of the signing of the ADA, which is probably the most significant piece of legislation that allows for the incorporation of people with disabilities into the larger society. So thank you for that. And a little plug that the Cincinnati celebration of that is going to be July 27th with a march starting at 10 a.m. from City Hall to a festive and lively event on Fountain Square that lasts until 1:30. Okay. So sadly though, even with all the advances that now exist in access to employment, state and local governments, and public accommodations and commercial facilities, it only takes one of these, a house's threshold step, to make it all irrelevant for some 6% of the national population, about 19 million people, and 7.5% of Cincinnati's population, about 22,000 people. And these numbers are growing with our aging baby boomers. When you have 1 in 3 over the age of 65 that fall every year, and another 1 in 3 of those that have a serious injury as a result, meaning about approximately 3,600 new people in this area are faced with the challenge, at least temporarily, if not permanently, of how to get in and out of their own home. And here's where I would normally go into like statistics and economics and stuff like the potential economic loss to the city is about $3.2 to $7.8 million a year, and other economics like that. But Patricia insisted that I share part of my personal story. So after being an advocate and educator for 10 years, this is the first time that I'm going to be up here sharing my personal story with a whole audience. So, well, we have been talking about the growing aging population unexpectedly dealing with challenges of getting in and out of the home. And I'm testament to the fact that it's not just the aging. At 28 years old, I never expected to be faced with that challenge of needing accessible features. And my first 2 homes, obviously I wasn't thinking about it. Tons of steps. April 15th of 2000, that changed. And I was driving to my little haircutting business with my college application to UC School of Planning, sitting on the seat next to me in my husband's S10. I was going to fill it out between clients and start college in the fall. Instead, an older woman ran a stop sign at the corner and intersection of Grace and Observatory in Hyde Park. After spending 3 months in Drake Hospital in the rehab unit, I was sent back to a place that went from being my most beloved home to a building that became highly uncomfortable prison. And I know prison is a really harsh term, so let me explain. This was my home, even though my husband and I really all spent a lot of time there, didn't. Very social creatures, always gone, always doing something. Parties, visiting friends in other states, all that sort of thing. That changed, aside from the fact that I couldn't get to the 2nd and 3rd floor, and aside from the fact that my house went from 7 rooms to 3, and aside from the fact that I couldn't get in the kitchen and cook, although that wasn't much of an issue because I didn't really cook before. And now I'm having a really, really great excuse not to. And aside from the fact that I couldn't get in the bathroom, a slightly bigger issue. But the primary reason for calling it a prison was because I couldn't get in and out of it on my own. The difference between the top step of the porch and the street was just too high in too shallow of an area. And I was told that the back deck was too shallow to ramp from the door to the stairs that then went from the back of the deck down to the surface in the backyard. I've since figured out a way around that. So if I had ramped off the back and zigzagged across the back of the house and came up towards the front, it would have worked if I raised the deck up even with the back door. Now, it wouldn't have gotten me down to the street level, but I could have at least gotten out in case of a fire. So I think about that now. God, there wasn't a fire. So anyway, and you wouldn't be able to see it from the street. So no stigma, no, this is a vulnerable person that lives here issue, which would be a good thing. Anyway, so unfortunately, back then, visitability, accessibility, universal design really wasn't well known, and design wasn't thought of a lot. And a lot of people still don't know, so I'll elaborate on that a little bit, which is also what Patricia asked me to speak on. So what is visitability? There's 2 ways of answering that. There's a concept, and then the code that builders follow. And since the concept is included in the code, I'll start with that. So visitability is a visitable home is built for the general market, not specifically for people with disabilities. But it's with the intent of everyone being able to easily come in, visit comfortably, and if they need to use the restroom, they can in privacy. So there's 3 specific features. A step-free entry, one from the front and back side to a garage, anywhere. Then a step-free path from the entry to a first floor, at least half bath. And doors 32 inches wide, hallways 36 inches wide. And then the half bath, just big enough to get in and close the door. So it's only 32 by 48 inches space, not enough to turn around in, but just enough to get in. So it's visitable, but not exactly livable long term. So some legislation adds in a couple of other features that are not absolutely necessary for someone visiting a home, but they're extremely easy to incorporate if you're doing it as the home is being built. So the next way to answer visitability. It's a term that in some areas of the country is a part of the building code or regulations, and in other areas it's more of a tax or building incentives to developers, builders, or home buyers that they can take advantage of that usually targets new single-family home construction of 1 to 4 units. Cincinnati is one of the areas with the tax incentive. There's also does a little bit for modifications to existing homes, which is unique and absolutely wonderful. The reason that the code for accessibility is only or for visitability is targeted for 1 to 4 units of single family is that all the rest is pretty much covered by either the ADA Title 2 and 3 or fair housing for residential developments. So, how is visitability different than accessibility, aging in place, and universal design? Let's start with the easiest. Accessibility. When builders and city building permit officials hear accessible, they reference specific scoping and technical requirements for buildings and facilities that are mandatory during the design, construction, and alteration of buildings and facilities covered by Title 2 and 3. These scoping and technical requirements go farther than visitability, like wider turning areas, and they apply to more areas of the building. The next would be aging in place. This isn't part of a building code terminology, but it falls under best practices in housing design. The 3 features that make a home visitable result in an acceptable situation for visits, but not really, and maybe even for short-term disability, but not really comfortable for long-term living. So that's why there's aging in place, so you have more things like places for grab bars, handle levers for doors and faucets and stuff like that. And maybe even breaker boxes on the first floor and hookups for utilities for washers and dryers on the first floor so they don't have to go down steps. Now, next one, universal design. Describes the concept of designing all products and the built environment to be aesthetically pleasing and usable to the greatest extent possible by everyone, regardless of age or ability or status in life. So it is like the ultimate in best practices. Kind of hard to attain, but wonderful to go for. With every element that is changed to enhance aging in place, you also bring homes closer to universal design. So one example that distinguishes visitability from aging in place from universal design might be someone visiting. So the light switches can be blocked by the door if it's visibility. They don't, it's the homeowner that needs to get the light switches, not the visitor. Accessibility would be exactly where the building code required it. You couldn't have the doors swinging away, and just so according to exactly what's written in the code. Aging in place, okay, two switches for every, a switch for every entrance, and maybe rocker switches so it's easy to push, and maybe even the light inside the rocker switches so as vision starts decreasing, they can see it at night and that sort of thing. That's aging in place. And then universal design might go, well, wow, someone that's blind isn't going to know which switch to flip that's actually turning the light on or off. So how about we stack some sensors and have one that tells how light it is outside and if there's movement in the room, and it turns them on automatically. So that would be like the variations. Unfortunately, none of these were well known 15 years ago. So my home didn't have a bathroom door wide enough to get in, and for me to leave my house required someone risking life and limb and to back me and my 300+ pound wheelchair down a ramp, handmade, steep enough that the Olympic bobsled team would probably go, oh my God. And that's not it, but it's a pretty close approximation. And I do mean risking life and limb. A couple weeks after returning home, one of my best friends thought she'd help me get out and enjoy the sunshine after a heavy rain. And my husband jokes that I'm solar powered, so this sounded like a fantastic idea to me. So it's just the 2 of us. and we're going down that luge, and the wood is slick, and even with the anti-slick stuff, the chair started sliding, and she tripped, and we both slid, and we didn't stop until her back was against the neighbor's house, really close, and I don't know if you see that little circle there. There's a pole that sticks out of the headrest. That was next to her head. I was terrified that I was going to hurt somebody else if they helped me. So the solar power person decided to stay inside. Next. And since my husband worked away from the house, when winter came, we kept the blinds facing the street, the ones facing the setting sun on our largest window. We kept them closed because it would get dark before he would get home, and I didn't turn on the lights and have someone on the street see me at home alone and maybe vulnerable. So, and I don't know if you know this, but the sun sets in a slightly different spot throughout the year. Always in the west, of course, but slightly different between summer and winter. So, this is how close the houses were, and this is really going to sound pathetic. But anyway, so there was about a month's time when I realized that there was a sliver of light because the sun was setting between two houses, and it would come in between the blind and the edge of the window. And that sliver of light was just wide enough that I could get one eye in. And I would wait in my wheelchair in one spot and wait for that sliver of light to come. Close my eyes and follow it until it went away. So that place became so dark and so small and so isolating, thereby earning the apt title of prison. And unfortunately, this prison didn't have yard privileges for good behavior. So, even with the 25th anniversary of the ADA, there are still many places that I can't get in or get to because accessible transportation is even less available than accessible public spaces. But to not be able to get in and out of your own house into the fresh air and sunshine is indescribably oppressing. A couple of years ago, NPR reported on an 8-year study of people 52 and older that said people experiencing isolation were more likely to die, regardless of income or health status. I believe it. So, this is part of the reason why I internally jump for joy when I hear from Stephanie, my neighborhood CDC Association director, or hearing from anyone like Ackerman and these wonderful people over there that they're intending or have just done a house that is universally designed or visitable or anything like that. It's like there's someone else that never has to experience that. And I know more and more of you are doing this every year. And I applaud you. You have no idea how much I applaud you. So, keep up the great work, guys. And if there's anything I can do to help, I will gladly do it.